Welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Nolene Ebel Ame, and my sign language interpreter is Shegun Ajayi. Let us begin with the headlines. African Union condemns terrorist attack in Kwara State, vows to support Nigeria in the fight against terrorism. Nigeria reviews strategies for unlocking gas advantage for power industry and growth at NIS 2026. Plus, Iran and U.S. talks end in Oman amid rising tensions. And now to the news. An international media organization has commended the leading role of Nigeria on the country's improved access to medical care. DIVEX also lauds the leading role of Nigeria's coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare in Nigeria, Professor Muhammad Ali Pate, for his well-coordinated global advocacies with a premium on continental development in the health sector. Professor Pate, a Harvard-trained physician, is leading Nigeria's health sector renewal, focusing on primary health care, vaccine rollouts, as well as strengthening clinical governance and patient safety. The recognition is coming at the time that Nigeria is focusing on improving maternal health, upgrading over 900 primary health care centers, and strengthening health system resilience. Between 2023 and 2025, the federal government has launched the Know Your Numbers campaign, vaccinated over 12 million girls against HPV, and expanded malaria vaccine rollout. DIVEX, as an international media, is equally commending Professor Ali Pate's focus on sourcing health products domestically. Professor Pate is one of the 50 world key players in the health sector that has been pushed forward for recognition. President Bola Tinubu and his counterpart from the Democratic Republic of Sao Tome and Principe, Carlos Villanova, were among the dignitaries who today attended the wedding fatiha of 10 children of the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawale. State House correspondent Musbaud Anwahab reports that the brief ceremony was at the National Mosque, Abuja.
President Bola Tinubu leads the roll call of dignitaries of the National Mosque. Present and former governors, members of the National Assembly, heads of agencies were also among the congregation. First, it was the Jummah prayers. And the presiding Imam, Professor Zakaria Lukman Samon, was on the preparation for the forthcoming Ramadan fast, calling on the faithful to prepare physically and spiritually in line with the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, and that he advises them to repent from sins and seek forgiveness in welcoming the holy month.
Safiya Bello Matawalle.
And then to the wedding fatiha of 10 children of a Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawalle. 5 grooms and 5 brides. President Tinubu was the father of the day and supported by his counterparts from Sao Tome and Principe, Carlos Villanova.
To Almighty Allah to bless the marriage.
The Imam also prayed for the success of Tinubu's administration and prosperity of Nigeria.
We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him long life and prosperity to make his time on this throne, the presidency of this country, to make it successful for him, to make the hopeless people to be hopeful in his tenure.
In Abuja, Musbao, Wahab, NT News.
And talking security, the African Union condemns the terrorist attack in Kwara State, Nigeria, and vows to continue supporting Nigeria in the fight against terrorism. In a strongly worded statement, the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, condemned the assault as a heinous and barbaric act that flagrantly violates human rights and threatens peace and security across the region. He reiterated the African Union's zero-tolerance stance toward terrorism and violent extremism in any form. Yusuf extended heartfelt condolences to the families and loved ones of the victims, as well as to the people of Nigeria. He also pledged the AU's full solidarity with the Nigerian government and the Kwara State authorities during this trying period. Similarly, the United States has strongly condemned the devastating attack in a statement by its embassy in Abuja. U.S. officials extended their deepest condolences to the families impacted by what they described as senseless violence. The U.S. welcomed Nigerian President Bola Tinubu's swift actions, including orders to deploy security forces to safeguard villages in the region and directives for federal and state authorities to deliver humanitarian aid to affected communities while pursuing justice against those responsible for the atrocity. In the same vein, the Turkish government pledged to support Nigeria in its fight against terrorism. Turkey's pledge is contained in a statement posted by the country's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which expressed its sadness over the killings, condemned the attacks, and extended its condolences to Nigeria and the families of those who lost their lives in the attack. Representatives Abbas has urged the security forces to step up their onslaught against terrorism and criminality in the country, stressing that both the government and the governed must collaborate to face the nation's common enemies. In a statement, Speaker Abbas condemns in strong terms the latest killings in Kwara and Benue states, expressing concern that innocent citizens keep losing their lives in questionable circumstances. He says the security agencies must take more decisive action, especially as President Bola Tinubu and the National Assembly have continued to give the armed forces the needed resources and moral support to secure the country. The Speaker extends condolences to the government and people of Kwara and Benue states while praying for the repose of the souls of the victims. The Nigeria Police Force has recovered and repatriated $23,000 to a victim of an international romance scam based in the Cayman Islands. In a statement by Force, the operation was carried out by the Interpol National Central Bureau, NCB, Abuja, following a request from the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service over a fraud case involving a Nigerian suspect, Achifosi Obioma Ikenna. Investigations revealed that the suspect ran an online romance scheme, building fake emotional relationships with the victim before siphoning funds. Acting on intelligence, Interpol NCB Abuja launched discreet operations that led to the arrest of the suspect and full recovery of the $23,000. After completing all legal and diplomatic processes, the money was formally handed over to the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service through the British High Commission in Abuja. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, under the Renewed Hope agenda, is committed to entrenching gas as the backbone of national energy architecture, supported by institutional reforms, regulatory enhancements, and investment incentives. Minister of State's Petroleum Resources Gas, Ekperekpe Ekpo, told participants at the Nigeria International Energy Summit that the commitment is leveraging the Decade of Gas initiative for robust harnessing of Nigeria's enormous gas reserves. Lydia Sampson reports.
The speakers here agree that gas remains the cornerstone of Nigeria's energy transition plan towards a cleaner, more secure and inclusive energy future. The minister sees it also as the bridge fuel linking today's realities with tomorrow's low-carbon ambitions.
May I, at this point in time, reaffirm the unwavering commitment of the federal government of Nigeria under the leadership of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to building a gas-driven economy that delivers prosperity at home and credibility abroad. Together, let us harness gas as an instrument of peace.
We have to accelerate the gas infrastructure development through the support that we always give as a regulator by issuing the permits promptly and making sure that they happen.
Panelists insist the transition must be holistic, from policies on paper to real impact in households, industries, and communities across Nigeria.
One of the major focus of the Decade of Gas now is addressing the power sector illiquidity. And so a lot of work has been done and is being done, and all the stakeholders are collaborating, and we're not doing it in a theoretical way. We're doing it in a practical way.
We need the economic signal that tells us the investment is safe and is rewarding enough for the development risk we're going to undertake. So I'm grateful that NNPC is providing solid leadership for how to integrate the efforts across the industry.
The Gas Master Plan, I must congratulate NNPC and the ministries for putting out a document that is not a sort of a general plan. It's an execution document, right? And it's serious about hitting targets.
Government is, because of this, promoting development of gas-based industrial hubs across the country. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Elsewhere, talks between Iran and the United States have ended, with both parties expected to brief their leaders on the disputed issues. Iran said it expected to hold more negotiations with the United States, hailing a positive atmosphere during a day of indirect talks in Oman. Adaobi Obiachina has the details.
Iran and the United States opened a new round of talks in Oman, making their first negotiations since recent military strike on Iranian nuclear facilities. While Washington warned that military action remains an option if diplomacy fails, Tehran stressed it will firmly resist any demands that undermine its sovereignty or national security. The Oman talks offered a rare diplomatic opening after months of escalation, but the division remained, with Washington seeking sweeping restrictions and Tehran demanding mutual respect and guarantees. The outcome will test whether diplomacy can prevent renewed confrontation between the long-time rivals. Meanwhile, a deadly storm has battered Iberian Peninsula, triggering severe flood and mass evacuation in Portugal and southern Spain, and prompting calls to postpone Portugal's presidential runoff. Storm Leonardo killed at least one person and forced thousands from their homes and raised the highest flood alert along the Tagus River in decades, while far-right candidate André Ventura urged a delay to ensure fairness. Electoral authorities ruled the vote would proceed as scheduled, insisting adverse weather alone is not sufficient grounds to postpone elections. Adobe Obiechina, NTA News.
A methane gas explosion at a coal mine in central Colombia has claimed the lives of 6 after trapping them deep underground and triggering an extensive rescue and recovery operation. Again, Adaobi Obiechina has the details.
The explosion occurred on Thursday at the Matasite coal mine, where debris blocked access to underground tunnels and delayed rescue efforts. Firefighters, police and mining officials worked for hours to ventilate the shaft and clear toxic carbon monoxide before recovering the bodies of the trapped miners. Authorities said methamine gas was the most likely cause of the blast, highlighting ongoing safety concerns in Colombia's underground coal mines, particularly those with poor ventilation. Investigators are now verifying whether the mine was operating legally and in compliance with the required safety protocol as at the time of the incident. The tragedy has renewed call for stricter oversight of mine operation in Colombia, where fatal accidents remains common. Officials urge the public to avoid the area as investigations continue into the cause of the explosion and potential safety violations. Adobe Obiechina, NTA News.
If you just joined us, this is the news on NTA International. Let's pause here for a break. Stay with us. Thank you for being there. The Court of Appeal Abuja has upheld the claim of 2.55 billion naira that the sacked workers of the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria filed against it and the Central Bank of Nigeria. Dele Atumbi reports on the conclusion of the industrial dispute.
In November 2016, the 110 workers of the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria obtained a National Industrial Court of Nigeria judgment to be reinstated to their jobs having been sacked in 2013. The trial court had ordered their reinstatement and 2.55 billion naira computed and submitted to court as their emolument should be paid to the sacked workers. While the University, Federal Ministry of Education, and Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice appealed the matter as original respondent debtors, the Central Bank of Nigeria became the later respondent debtor. The appellate court in its decision overruled the appeals, holding that the trial court afforded them fair hearing in its decision, but they failed to take advantage of this. The three-man panel, led by Justice Okon Abang, unanimously dismissed the appeal for lacking in merit and awarded 5 million naira costs to be paid to the sacked workers.
We are going to brief our clients and meet accordingly for the way forward. We have been vindicated.
Adjudication on the matter terminates at the Court of Appeal. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
And talking health, as part of renewed efforts to strengthen cancer prevention and treatment in the country, the federal government has launched key policy documents to guide the national response to the disease. The Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Isiaka Adekunle Salako, unveiled the documents aimed at accelerating access to quality cancer care in Nigeria. The newly launched documents include the Nigeria Nuclear Medicine Strategic Plan and the National Cancer Control Plan 2026 through 2030, which are expected to serve as roadmaps for improving early detection, diagnosis, treatment, and research. The Director General of National Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment said the new centers and policy frameworks, aside representing a major step toward lowering the disease burden, will improve survival outcomes for patients nationwide.
To take full advantage of all these cancer control initiatives being provided by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government, especially the preventive initiatives.
Closely linked to this is our effort to establish and expand the National Cancer Registry System. Reliable data is the backbone of effective cancer control. NICRAD has continued to support the expansion of population-based cancer registries.
In preparation for the February 21 FCT Area Council election, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, will be conducting a mock election in 289 polling units across the FCT tomorrow, Saturday, February 7, 2026, from 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Voters in the affected polling units are encouraged to turn out with their PVCs and take part in the mock election to help INEC fine-tune the process for the election. The federal government's mass animal vaccination drive has been described as a strategic effort to eradicate transboundary animal diseases aimed at boosting livestock productivity, strengthening resilience, and ensuring sustainable animal production nationwide. The drive gained momentum as the Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support Project under the Ministry of Livestock Development presented a consignment of vaccines to the Federal Capital Territory Authority in Abuja, reinforcing efforts to protect animal health and enhance food security. Yusuf Jika reports.
Across borders and beyond boundaries, transboundary animal diseases continue to threaten livestock productivity and farmers' livelihoods. Highly contagious and often deadly, these diseases spread fast, leaving economic losses in their wake and placing food security at risk. It is this growing animal health challenge that has brought stakeholders together with life-saving doses of vaccines against foot and mouth disease, contagious bovine pleuropneumonia, Pes dispetis ruminans, and Newcastle disease being rolled out for vaccination across the Federal Capital Territory.
Today, it is the turn of FCT to take a delivery of 505,000 doses. Not only that, the project will be supporting with field inoculation, transport, allowances, and some feeding allowances for the veterinarians.
They are so magnanimous to us, and they have given us enough vaccines, which I hope will be used effectively to curtail all these transboundary animal diseases.
This intervention forms part of an end-to-end nationwide animal vaccination campaign under the Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support Project. So far, 18.2 million doses of vaccines have been delivered to the 36 states, and the FCT is strengthening disease control efforts and building resilience across Nigeria's livestock sector. The initiative is set to deepen the gains of the renewed Hope Livestock Transformation Drive, safeguarding livelihoods, boosting productivity, and securing the future of animal farming in Nigeria. In Abuja, Yusuf Jika, NTA News.
In other news, in line with national efforts to reposition Nigeria's tourism sector as a key driver of economic growth and sustainable development, the Nigerian Tourism Development Authority has signed a memorandum of understanding with Ojaja Pan-Africa. Suleiman Abdul Wahab reports that the strategic agreement formalizes a partnership aimed at unlocking investment opportunities, strengthening cultural tourism, and expanding Nigeria's presence in the global tourism market.
What is happening in the area of tourism and all the reforms of the president, it's going to trickle down. For the first time in the history of our country, if you go to the capital market, it's now over 100 trillion naira market.
Nigerian flavor and Tour Nigeria are some of the inscriptions seen on the sash worn around the neck of participants at the MOU signing ceremony. The partnership between NTDA and Ojaja Pan-Africa marks a shift in tourism from leisure-focused activities to a business and investment-driven sector. The collaboration will leverage the strength of both institutions to attract investments and showcase Nigeria's cultural heritage and natural attractions globally.
The agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which is a renewed agenda towards diversification from oil, using tourism as a focal point for the development of our economy.
The youth population of this country, both direct and indirect job creation will definitely go to the youth. If you look at the hospitality sector, it's been, encumbered by the youth. If you look at the creative sector, it is the youth that dominates the creative sector. You look at music, you look at our dances, it's the youth that dominates it. And all these are elements of tourism.
The decision to partner with Enitan Ogunsi, the owner of Ife, Ojaja II reflects of its contributions to economic development, youth empowerment, job creation, and cultural presentation. The collaboration is expected to drive job creation, youth engagement, and infrastructural development. In Abuja, Suleiman Tobu Abdul Wahab, NT News.
And that concludes the news on NT International. Thank you so much for watching. I am Nolin Ebel Ame, and my sign language interpreter has been Shegun Ajayi. Bye for now.